take a piece of paper and you draw through it and you push through it. Just like that. Oh, look at that. It's so sharp again. Guys, how do you know when you need to sharpen your knife? Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel, JPM.Cuisine. I'm your host, JP, and today we're going to talk about honing rods of them all. Okay, now when we talk about honing rods, what we're talking about typically, or what most people will recognize, is the steel honing rod. This right here is the Mercer 12-inch stainless steel, or the steel honing rod. If you notice, it's got some striations on it, a little bit of grooves. That's what gives it some texture whenever you're honing your knives. But most typically they'll have a polymer style handle, maybe a ring on the end so that you can hang it somewhere. But they're fairly inexpensive, and for the most part this is hard enough that you can hone any of your knives with it. The next level that they offer, this again is a Mercer. This is the 12-inch diamond honing rod. Polymer handle, just the same, much lighter than the steel. This actually also has the oval style profile, and what it has is commercial style diamonds just encrusted in the edge. So you get a little bit more fineness and more effectiveness when you're stropping or honing on this surface. And then finally we've got the Mercer 12-inch. This is again is a round rod, but it's the ceramic rod. Okay, so as you can already tell, there's a difference between the style of the profile. Traditionally you might see more round, but you know that the steel will come in the oval and in the round. This is just more commonly what you see. Typically the tip may have a little bit of a point on it so that you can put it into a surface and it will slip as easily. Similar for this, it has sort of a kind of a rubberized texture maybe on the grip or on the tip here, maybe for slipping, and then the ceramic just has a flat nose. Okay, and that's how most people might end up using it, is they put it on the board with a reverse grip, and then they'll take their knife at the angle and they'll just draw it across the honing rod. Okay, that's typical. Some people, I've seen Gordon Ramsay do this a few times, and he's got to be extremely precise, but he'll just run it up and down as fast as he can on both sides, and that's fine too. I don't think it really matters so much on the stroke, but I'd love to hear your comments down below if you do have thoughts on it, and if you've tested it out. I want to know what you guys have found in terms of the type of stroke on a honing rod. But for me, I practice a very consistent approach on my stroke, the same as I do for stropping. And so let me go ahead and demonstrate that for you. Again, this is the stainless steel, or the stainless rod. And typically what I'll do is, I don't know if you can see it, I'll get a close up, but you can sort of tell the angle of the edge as it comes to the end. It's a little bit shinier than the rest of the knife, and that's how you know where your edge is. And typically what I'll do is either holding it out in front of me or resting on whatever, I'll find that edge, that angle, and I'll just draw. Okay, and I'll do the same thing on the reverse stroke. So away from me, from the heel down to the tip. And this is similar to how you might strop a razor on a leather strop. Okay, you're gonna follow that kind of motion. With the razor, you're just gonna go straight. With me, with the knife, you're gonna utilize the length of the rod. And all you're doing when you strop is just re-straightening the edge. So what you're gonna feel for as you're doing a stroke is you're gonna look for any kind of curling of that edge, and that's gonna tell you that you're the amount of pressure that you're using or force that you're using on the stroke is too great. And so that's sort of what they call chasing the burr, where it's constantly flipping. So what I'll do is keep filling it. It works better when you have a dry hand, but I'll just keep filling that edge and making sure. Don't cut yourself, you gotta be careful. I'm always pulling away towards the, away from the edge, not towards the edge, because that's how things cut. So I'll pull my finger away and see if I feel any kind of curling on it. Okay, and if you don't feel any curling, then for the most part it should be okay. For me, the only true test is going to be using it in the kitchen. So if I go to cut something and it doesn't cut through it, it's dull. And then I'll try it a few more times on my honing rod, and if it still doesn't cut through, that's how I know I need to use a whetstone or something else. Okay, so it's not like some super secret where, you know, you've developed some sense of a super sense, if you will, towards sharpening that tells you when it's time to sharpen your knife. It's when you try to hone it and it doesn't work, and you're applying good technique to your honing, that you're like, oh, well, I need to go to the next level. I need to sharpen and remove steel and make a new edge on that. Diamond, of course, is one of the hardest sharp substances, so the diamond should work. Okay, and the same thing, you're gonna feel for a curl, and I'm gonna go very gently as I use my edge on diamond. Same thing, I'm just looking for a curl. The diamond to me feels a little bit rough when it leaves the edge, because I feel like there's a little bit of inconsistency in the edge. So there's ridges and peaks and valleys through all the different crusts of diamond. So while it works effectively on pretty much any type of knife, I think that you sacrifice a little bit of the quality and the sharpness based on that polish. And that's where you move towards ceramic. Ceramic is obviously brittle, so it is a little bit more delicate. If you travel with ceramic, you might have the chance of breaking it. I'm sure they probably had a metal rod in there, but sometimes you can form cracks on the surface. But for me, polish is sort of the finishing touch. So even if you use a steel or a diamond rod, you may want to finish it up and give it a little bit more of a polish with your ceramic. And I think I've heard Jacques Pepin talk about stories of his mother where she would use, you know, the bottom of a porcelain bowl to sharpen their knives, or at least to strop the knives or hone it, so that you can continue to cut with it. And I think anybody who is interested in cooking needs to know how to maintain their tools. And these are 3 very important tools that I think everybody should have in their toolbox and should know how to use. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at honing rods and my take on how I use them. If you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll respond as best as I can. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and look forward to my next video on whetstones. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.